What's up everybody, Coach Mills here, pumped up about a brand new amazing League of Legends video where in just 5 tips, I'm gonna make you a better player. You're gonna be able to have way more impact in your games. It's gonna truly make the difference and you are going to climb with ease. So make sure you smash the like and subscribe button and listen up. But before we get started, remember to join the GameLeap.com website. Pick up a subscription from us using the links down below because it's really the only place where you'll find high quality advanced guides on meta champions and where you'll find the most up-to-date advanced guides anywhere. Everything is done by challenger players, which is why you're bound to start climbing. Head on over there now or using the links in the description down below, and I can't wait to see you there. Now we're gonna kick it off with the first tip that everyone gets wrong. Me, you, hopefully not your actual pilot, but it's autopiloting. You see, this is a mistake that affects people from Iron to Challenger, no joke. No matter what rank you are, this can definitely hurt your win rate. To focus on every solo queue game when many players play about 10 plus solo queue games in a day is very, very hard to do, especially when you don't take breaks in between games and your mind is just being fried by playing again and again and again with no rest in sight. The difference between a challenger autopiloting and a gold player is simply that the challenger player has been playing at that top level for so long that they have the basics down at a subconscious level. They don't even have to think about it anymore, and they don't suffer from as much mental fatigue, and the autopiloting that they do in their games is actually still the proper moves every single time. Now these basics will include things like farming, macro movements, grabbing a potato chip while simultaneously killing the enemy, and itemization. These are all really big things that they have down perfectly, even when they're not thinking about them. They are already unconscious, competent in them, where they don't even have to think about it, and they're already good at these things. Now a lot of times these really good players, the only time that they will actually focus back into the game, like really focus on what's happening and take back control per se, is when there's like a really big fight going on, because that's the most exciting part of the game where things can change dramatically, right? Things are happening randomly. It's not just the exact same thing that they're used to, which is farming, itemization, all that stuff we talked about. Now, while yes, I might be painting these challenger players as like Super Saiyans just dominating while on autopilot, there are many places where a diamond level player can take down a challenger level player if the diamond player is always trying his best throughout the entire game. You know the story, David versus Goliath. You see why these players have played so much, they're starting to autopilot and they think that it's the right idea, but they're really vulnerable to making all these silly mistakes, such as perma-shoving the wave rather than freezing or slow pushing. And because of this, this leaves you an opportunity to outplay them. You set up your own freeze, and before they realize it, they wake up and go, oh my god, my wave is in such a bad spot, I'm screwed here, what can I do now? And another instance of this, which is quite common, is when people base and path back the lane, and then they tend to alt-tab, look on social media, on YouTube, or end up walking too far in the lane, which will result in a free kill. Take advantage of this habit, this autopiloting habit where people think they're just too good, they don't have to pay attention, but you can punish this with ease if you do something untraditional, if you stay diligent, and you make sure that every single time you're playing the game, you're hyper-focused, not autopiloting like these players that you can easily punish if you are going above and beyond. You need to be disciplined when these people are lazy. Stay focused and make this a habit. Now that being said though, you might be saying, oh, it's easy to say stop autopiloting, but it's easier said than done. Well, I'm gonna tell you some tips that you could do to make sure that you don't autopilot at all. The first tip is to make sure you get enough sleep. How are you gonna be popping off in your games when you have 1 hour of sleep in 3 days and you're wired up snorting 12,000 grams of G Fuel? It's just not gonna work out for you. You're just gonna completely crash at best, and at worst, you're gonna int right into the enemy team and you're going to just autopilot as if you're not even playing a video game. You're just watching yourself make all the moves and you're watching yourself int again and again. And the first thing you might be saying is, why can't I just play as much as humanly possible? That's how I climb, right? But you gotta understand, it's a numbers game. And if you play like 20 games, but a whole bunch of those games you were autopiloting, and because of that, you were just losing and making all the wrong decisions, it would have been better for you to play half as much, but be fully rested, being cognizant of every single decision, and then your win rate would be way higher and you would actually be climbing instead of spending the entire day just going nowhere or even going down because you're so damn tired. Now, the next tip I got for you, and this one's gonna be pretty hard to understand, but you got to take breaks. And I know what you're saying. You are already thinking about breaking my neck just for suggesting such blasphemy. I mean, taking a break, that is not something that is supposed to happen. But the thing you need to understand is if you don't take a break, you're not only going to autopilot, but you're also going to tilt, and you could just turn one loss into two, into three, into a cascade of losses, where no matter what you do, you will not be able to win a game, even if you think you're playing well. It's far better to cut your losses while you're down, either cut it for an entire day, or just take a break, go drink some water, go for a walk, and then come back when you are firmly zenified and you're really calm, not tilted. You're ready to play to your best ability, not just go in autopilot to oblivion and lose the game because of that. Now, moving on to tip number 3, and this one might freak you out a little bit, but in the least creepy way possible, so you don't absolutely horrify your parents, you need to talk to yourself throughout the game. And what do I mean by talk to yourself? Am I just saying mumble to yourself, you know, whisper sweet nothings? No, I'm talking about keeping yourself focused and making sure that your brain is up to speed with your actions. Talking or calling to yourself in-game can make you exponentially more focused than anything else. You could be saying important things like, okay, jungler is topside, I can shove in my wave, or you could say, I have a freeze here so I can ping my jungler to come gank my lane. You can do all sorts of things like this, keeping yourself updated and your brain sharp always, and always have a plan that you're talking about out loud before you act it in game. It will make that plan way more successful. The second part to this that I constantly see throughout all the ranks is typing. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I was once a very big tilter, but can you imagine me tilting? No, I'm just kidding. But a long time ago, I flamed a lot of people. But after dropping that habit, becoming a more calm person, I noticed a big difference in my rank. Typing is good if you want to communicate when you want ganks, need help, or tidying summoners, and these messages can be really good and effective, but let's be honest, the chances of us finding the value in these things are slim to none, and you're not gonna find that kind of value in the comment section that much or nearly at all. What is really what people use the chat for? And I think you know, it's that Tyler 1 style flame that everyone gets if you're playing League of Legends. That's why it's notoriously known for one of the most toxic games you could play anywhere. And you might not do this, but I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. Passive-aggressive statements like sigh or XD. And honestly, if this is you, you're part of the problem, not just for the community, but yourself, because you are tilting your team. You're not contributing anything positive to the actual game, getting you tilted, getting your teammates tilted, and really not providing any value added, ensuring your victory. Honestly, if you don't have the self-control to not type in chat, not tilt your teammates, not roast anyone, go to settings, disable that chat feature right away. You don't even need it. It's only a distraction if that is the type of person that you are. Now, another thing you could do is just vent your anger out loud, not to your team, but just out loud in your room. Just let it flow out, not saying it to your team. You could even roast your teammates in Discord with whoever you're playing with. You don't have to be actually saying it to them because it's only gonna tilt them. They might throw, they might get upset, and it's just gonna affect everyone in a negative way. Try to find some other form of outlet for this anger. You don't need to throw it on your teammates because let's be honest, are you gonna see those guys again at all? Does it even matter what they think? All you're doing is trying to make yourself feel better in the moment, but it's costing you your games and it's costing you your win rate. Now, moving on to the third huge mistake that is incredibly common and it could be costing you tons of games, and it's not reading into builds and champions before playing or building. Champion select and not knowing what to build are two very huge factors into winning a game just right at the start. Tons of people always look up counter picks and use sites or apps that pick out ruins and item builds for them, and they go on about their day without even thinking why. They're kind of just following the whatever the guide tells them, but they're not understanding the big picture or why things are good versus bad. This is what hinders a lot of people and really holds them back from becoming better players, in my personal opinion. If you really want to improve your game sense and become a top tier player, it's very important that you understand what you are building, what champion you selected and why, and which route you are taking for what purpose. Now let me give you a big example to better help you understand what I'm talking about here. Let's say that you start off with champ select and you have last pick and you're mid. The enemy picked Kassadin, and right off the bat, I know what most of you are gonna pick. Any AD mid, right? Well, let's say that you locked in specifically Zed. 15 minutes into the game, you realize your team has no form of safe wave clear, and you end up in a huge, almost overwhelming disadvantage. If we rewind to that champion select phase, and you picked Lucian instead, who is an AD mid that's ranged, giving you ability to safely wave clear, you would have checked off what is needed and what your team needed as well to make a much more balanced team composition. Now, you're only gonna know this if you read into champs and know what each of them provide for a specific reason. Now, moving on to applications, there are some that will present you with the best quote-unquote runes for you, but the user probably won't even know why they are good and for what purpose. And if you don't understand why something is good and just mindlessly following it, you're really gonna hinder yourself. This is what I'm really trying to portray here, because it's so important that you understand why you're picking one rune over the other. You see, yes, if you want to become like a pro player, you could just copy them. You could copy every step they take, every move they make, no matter what. You copy all their runes, you copy their champion, you copy whatever. But in the end of the day, are you going to be able to copy their rank? Are you going to be able to play as well as them? No, because it's all a cascading effect down the line based on decisions, based on understanding what strengths and weaknesses each individual thing gives you. And of course, the decisions you make in every single game is going to be dramatically different based on all the options, all the characters that people could pick. Everything could change depending on so many different factors that it's impossible to just copy a pro step by step. Now let me give you an example when like a newbie enchant player permanently takes Airy over Comet at times. While Airy is very useful and more commonly taken, there are times when you won't be able to auto the enemy, thus taking half the utility Airy provides. Meanwhile, if you were to take Comet, then your abilities would pack that little bit of extra punch, which in the end would honestly prove to be more potential and useful and will really more likely give you the win in the end. Now I could come out again and again with example after example, but the big takeaway here is make sure that you reason with yourself. Really talk to yourself and question, why is X thing good in what scenario? And you'll become a smarter player in no time. Instead of just auto-picking, auto-piloting like we talked about before, and just following what everyone else is doing, really think critically about why things are good and bad, what is gained and what is lost when you pick one thing over the other, and you will become a smarter player in no time. Your game sense will increase, and you will simply be a better player, just like that. That's really all it takes. Now, the fourth mistake that everyone is doing, and this happens not only in this game, but pretty much any game where there's a whole bunch of different characters or champions, for League of Legends in particular, it's playing too many champs at once. I get it. You want to be a god tier, a flex god, where you can just pick up any champion and just be like best in the world like Faker or whoever. But before you get there, you need to understand the basics, and honestly, becoming a top tier player is far easier playing a small number of champions until you fully understood not even just the basics, until you mastered these heroes and you know these champions inside and out. This is specialization because every single character has their own unique playstyle. There is no two characters that are going to play out the same in every single game. Every character has something they do slightly better or slightly different than another character, no matter how similar. You see it with a small champion pool, but big enough to make sure that you can fill the basics down. If you have this champion pool, you will be able to climb. And if you're being honest with yourself, you're not playing these champions as good as you can. Some people try to band-aid fix that by just expanding their champion pool, but it's not like a Swiss Army knife. It doesn't matter how many tools you have in your tool chest if all of them are dull, if none of them are insanely sharp or just working at maximum efficiency. And that is what is most important. You don't need to just be this jack of all trades god. That is not what is needed for you to climb. You should instead specialize, and you will improve at a much faster rate. Especially those of you who are learning the game, I would highly suggest pick 3 champs that all do different things so that you can learn not only the champ, but the role that you need to play in order to maximize the value of said champ. Allow me to give you some examples. For top, I would recommend Malphite, Kanine, and Riven or Fiora. Malphite teaches you how to be a tank and play frontline. Kennen teaches you how to dominate lane as a ranged champ, AP, and flanker. And Riven/Fiora teaches you advanced mechanics and how to split split push. Jungle, we have Lee Sin, Zac, and Elsie. Lee Sin teaches mechanics and high-level play. Zac teaches you how to be a supportive tank. And Elsie is an unforgiving champ if you mess up in the early game, but snowballs extremely well if you are ahead. Now for mid, a good example of 3 characters would be Zed, Orianna, and Twisted Fate. Zed gives you the ability to play AD mid with mechanics. Orianna is a control mage, great for team fighting. And Twisted Fate teaches you split pushing, looking at the map, and rotating. We have bot lane, which we would suggest Ashe, Lucian, and Ziggs. Ashe is an immobile utility DPS, Lucian teaches you limits and the importance of winning lane, and Ziggs gives you the option to play AP bot if your team drafts full AD. Now last but certainly not least, we're gonna talk about support, which Braum, Thresh, and Lulu is what I would definitely suggest. Braum teaches you the importance of peeling and positioning. Thresh allows you to roam and make plays while basically teaching you tons of mechanical difficult things that is really gonna help you develop as a player. And Lulu teaches you how to position or, trust in others. These 3 champs in every role all have their own lessons, but the important takeaway for you is every single one of these champs have some things that they want to be doing and things that they're gonna get specifically punished by. And if you learn all these characters, this is just like a mold. You don't have to follow this mold, but the point of this is that you really develop better as a player. You learn different aspects for every single champion, and if you stick to these and slowly expand, instead of just trying to expand too far out so quickly, then every single character is going to be really fragile and you're not going to learn every single aspect of these. And it's really about the foundation. That is the big takeaway that I'm going to give you. Foundation, building yourself up from the bottom. If your bottom is just like really thin, like brittle thin, then the more you learn on top of it, that's not going to matter. It's like learning the really complex macro pro strats. That's not going to matter if your baseline is really, really bad. And honestly, all of us, including me, could go revisit our baseline. And that is what I would highly suggest here. Make sure you sometimes go back to basics and try to build yourself up from the bottom up, learning a select few number of champions first, and then expanding from there after you mastered them. Now, of course, the last and probably worst mistake of the entire video, and it happens to all of us, it's not having fun while playing League. Yes, I know League can be frustrating, it can be tilting, it can be exhausting at times, but at the core of it all, you're supposed to be trying to have fun. If you're not having fun, all these things that we talked about, autopiloting, getting tilted, just wanting to try new heroes just for the heck of it, this could all just spiral completely out of control. So make sure, no matter what, if you're not having fun with League, take a break for a while, maybe even a couple of days. At the end of the day, we all play this for fun, and if you're having fun with the game, you're gonna be grinding it more, you're gonna be more interested in actually improving at the game, instead of just, just going through the motions every single time. No one wants that out of a game they play. If you lose motivation and it's just becoming resent, then I think it really should just take a break, come back later, make sure your mental health is in order, all that good stuff, and then of course, you can come back to the game, be your best you, and start dominating. But speaking of domination, go head over to the GameLeap website if you want to improve at League of Legends. We got in-depth VOD reviews, advanced tips, anything that you need in order to become a challenger tier player. We have tons of guides on the website, all made from challenger level players. So do yourself a favor and go check it out. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe button here and comment down below if any of these mistakes have affected you and your games. I would love to hear it and I would love to respond down below. But that's all I got for you today. Thanks so much for coming by. I'm Coach Mills, and of course, until next time.